Hey, what's up, guys? So this is going to be the weekly recap. The first stock that I traded this week was FOXO. Um, this thing you can't really see, but it was up from like I think it was like 20 something cents. This thing started gapping up. Obviously, it hit 67 cents in pre-market. I am not going to trade something that does not have, like, at the very highs, 67 cents. The first target's down. Yeah, it's 12 cents. I'm not going to trade that. But when this thing starts gapping up here like this, all right, now I'm interested. I didn't trade over here, but when this thing started, ripping up, and I was just like, man, this thing was like really. I think is it like for like, if you know what, I want to look. What was this thing? This thing is up from 13 cents. Yeah, so it's up from 13 cents, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm totally gonna trade this thing. This thing gets to $1. You gotta think about this, right? This thing's up from 13 cents. Whoever made this stock move up, if it gets to $1 and the volume is lowering down, like obviously it's still pumping out crazy amounts of volume, but like look at this. This thing's ripping up, and when it pops over $1, it's trading almost 9 million shares, and all of a sudden it just drops off. Somebody, like, the second that people start seeing, let's do it like this. Goes up to $1, right? This thing rips straight through $1, and then everyone that's buying the break of $1 saying like, "Holy shit, this is gonna be like the next Tesla or whatever." They start buying in. Well, while they're buying, whoever made it gap up from 13 cents is selling into those guys. Once the demand stops and supply starts taking over, it's gonna instantly go whoop and drop all the way back down, which is exactly what happened. That's the name of the game. You wait for, psychology levels or, fake breakouts or wherever people are going to get greedy. That's where you capitalize on. When people can't control their emotions, it allows you to capitalize on situations. And so for me, I took a trade, right in here, and I made a good chunk of change on this move. But that's really the only place I should have been trading this thing. Well, now, we're gonna stay on this stock because the stock made a lot of different plays throughout the week. Then the next day, this thing died. I made a good chunk of change on this thing, and all of a sudden starts gapping up again. I'm like, oh damn, dude! Like it's gonna have another day. Uh, and so for me, we're gonna go to the daily because this is very important. Son of a bitch. So, this is the day that I capitalized on, right? The reason you start drawing in ultimate high, go down to the low. I was just like, all right, I want to get as close as I possibly can to $1.04. Because I've made money on this really 1, 2, 3 days. And so I got overconfident, right? Um, then I kind of got my ass kicked on this day because I was like, oh, hey, if this thing pops up, because, once I made money on this day, I was like, hey, if this thing pops up for an all time high, it might give you a good opportunity. Well, all time high is this green line. So you go to the daily. I had a pop and fell in pre-market, and so what I did was I got way too biased. I believed this thing was going to go down, and so what I did was I think I got like 2 or 3 cuts like right in this area because it came up. I shorted on the ask. I got filled. Um, I can't remember if it halted or not. I really don't remember. It doesn't look like it did, but I can't remember exactly how this played out. But I took a couple different cuts. This thing's pumping out a shit ton of volume, and I didn't. Yeah, I did. I traded right here. I think I took a cut right here. I took another trade, but like it held the level. It had a fake breakdown of this level and then ripped back up. And you know, I can't remember. I think I got cut up over here too. But this is not my play. This is not a setup. This is no setup at all. What is a setup for me is right. That doesn't give you a setup. That doesn't give you a setup. No, like it didn't technically give me a solid A plus setup. What I did do though is I got cut up here again. I got cut up here quite a bit, and then because I got cut up too much, I only went in with like a third size right here, and then I did hold it. I didn't hold all the way down to here for my final target, but I got my ass kicked on this, to be completely honest, and it sucked. But you can't have too strong of a bias. Just because you make money on a stock one day does not mean that you're going to make money on the stock the next day or the next day or the next day. And that's a very important thing to remember. The next trade that I took was GOVX. So this thing, I believe I traded it over here. And how I traded it is the intraday gapper. I traded like a gap and extension. So what I did was I came over here, I clicked here, there, I took a trade right here, I covered, and I left it alone. I believe I covered half, and I believe I covered the other half. Break even. Simple, sweet, easy, like that's how I do my system, because I don't want to have a bunch of motions to where I screw myself over. Same thing on this one, intraday runner, right? So on this one, the reason you don't trade over here is because there's no volume, right? But the problem is, I believe that this is exactly where I was trading at. I think that how I traded it was this. I believe I traded it right in here, but I got stopped out. I didn't cover anything here. I believe. You know what? I'm gonna call myself out. Let's see how I traded this stupid thing. More. Yeah, sure as shit. Look at it. I traded exactly like I said I did. I didn't like the way it's reacting, but the reason that's wrong is because what the hell? Because it's got no volume. You don't want to be trading something that's got no volume. That's a consolidation. That's gonna do what it did. It's gonna squeeze. And what I screwed up on was I didn't capitalize on the real move, because right here's the move. Why? Because this is pumping out volume. There's liquidity here. Okay, cool. What goes up, like I said, you can even get in here too, but you have to size in accordingly. Okay, if you get in here, that's at $3.10. Your risk is $3.43. You gotta size in accordingly. At the same time, how far away is it from your target? Okay, so if I'm trading it at $3.10, yeah, that's 30 cents. That's enough for me to trade this thing. At the same time, that's a 1-to-1 trade. If you trade up over here at $3.25, now you're risking 18 cents. You're gonna make like 40 something cents. That's a better trade for me. And that's how you trade a gap and extension, or an intraday gapper, which I trade the same way as a gap and extension. Anything that's over pre-market high, I trade as a gap and extension. Then GNS was the next one I traded. Once again, it's got a pre-market high right here, but like I previously stated, this thing is trading. Well, let me scratch, because this is high volume in pre-market, but market opens, this is no freaking volume at all until I would say like right here. So it starts getting volume the second it starts to break over, play around with the VWAP. It curls and does like a little curl off the VWAP. Then it starts getting volume. Okay, well, how do you trade this thing? Well, for the rules, right here. Exactly right there. The difference is it didn't hit your target. And another thing to look at is this thing is at $1.15. Your target is down here at 82 cents. That is a good trade. But it didn't work. It came down. It started finding a bottom right here. Starts making a lower high. Goes back down. Now it's making a higher low. It's got a little buy up candle right here. Yeah, I'm getting out break even right there. Okay, it did not work. That does not mean that you start like, okay, well, shit, I'm gonna try again here, and then another cut, and then again, and then another cut, and then it squeezes on you. Like, no. Like, if it goes up to the pre-market, it should go up and then just it doesn't look back. It either and it should go a little bit through. You want it to go through, and you want the volume to be shooting up while it's going back down. That means somebody's selling into the position. You don't want to start seeing this thing finding a floor and then finding support and then pushing again. You don't want that. At the same time, this gave you another really good setup right here, because for the rules, whole or $half numbers. $half number right there. If you were quick enough and you got in, towards the top, like this thing literally it reacted the way that it's supposed to. It did not look back at all. It went down and it died, right? So that's a great way to trade this. The next thing you know, this thing rips people's faces off that tried to get greedy and swing this thing, but then it did not give you a second chance. Okay, so you don't trade this the second day. This was the move right here. You take what the market gives you and you go about your day. The next trade is BTCS. So I believe I traded. I don't think I traded on this day. I think I traded on this day. But this thing's like a Bitcoin thing. This thing's like, this is how I traded it, at least. This thing comes up, fake breakout of previous day high. It goes down, but then once again it starts finding a floor. It bottoms out here. It makes a higher low, and then it starts squeezing through. And you should stop right here, right? So, okay, well then that did not work. Okay, cool. Well, how do you play this then? You have to wait for a whole $half number, which this thing did not get to, and then if it does not work, it did not give you another entry. So you miss this trade. That's just how it is. If yeah, like for rules, that's how it works. And it did not give you another entry over here in pre-market. It ripped through this level, started finding toppings. You know, it slammed under $6 here, but like that's pre-market. You guys should not be trading in pre-market. Then the next trade was MVST. This thing is just like a lot of the common theme lately is these OTC stocks are just ripping up and going towards the whole dollar number, $1. All right, cool. This thing I traded it and it was kind of sketchy, honestly. I did trade it right here, but I did not get in right here. I didn't like how it reacted. It didn't slam under. It started holding. It came up, went to do a fake breakout. I got in right here and it went into a halt. I couldn't get out fast enough. I was just like shit. So when it opened, this thing opened lower. I was like, oh shit! Like I thought for sure I was screwed because I was like, man, this is gonna gap up. I'm gonna be in too much size. That's not how it happened. It gapped down. It opened down. And I was just like, oh shit! And when it popped back up to the halt level and slammed back down, I stayed in, risking just over this halt level. It fell down. I covered half. I got out. The rest right in here. And it didn't fade the way I wanted it to, but I got a solid trade in this thing. I got I covered half here, and the rest I got out in the money. The next trade was GXAI. This thing was a microfloat. I was not a huge fan of this thing, but it played exactly the way that I wanted it to. It came up here. It did a fake breakout right near the $0.50 number. I took a trade right here, risking the high. Came down, covered half, covered another half, covered a big piece over here, and then a final little piece over here. And you call it a day. I do not add into weakness. I don't give a shit about VWAP or anything like that. The only way I would have added on this is if it would have hit in here. It has to at least get to 221 to 233. I have to see it has to react the way that I want it to. Then I can add back in some size depending on what targets got hit, but it didn't play out that way, and so I didn't add to this stock. The next one, QUBT. I did not trade over here. It was up from $1.26. It started gapping up. It found the high. If you did trade this, I don't think this would have gave you an entry because I think I was watching this, but I don't think I traded it because, yeah, it didn't quite get there. I was looking for this thing. Right here, I missed out on it. I was just like, well, that sucks. It went down. It didn't get to where I wanted to trade at. The next day, though, this thing gaps up. Obviously, I'm looking for that level. I did take a trade because it was setting up a gap and crap. I took a trade. I believe I did take a trade. I got my ass kicked on this thing. I didn't trade it correctly. But how I should have traded it was should have traded on the stuff. Cover half in here, another piece here, hold the final piece for down there, cut off, break even, double tops right here. If I wanted to take a trade on this after it's got crazy volume, it tanks down, okay, cover half, cover another half, cover another big piece, hold the last piece for here, stop out, break even, and call it a day. Because for me, how I look at this is if something keeps on going back to the zone that I'm interested in multiple times and it's not failing, it's just going to play games, right? So for me, One time, two times. Okay, if it goes back a third time, I am not playing games with this thing. It's about to squeeze and rip your face off. I'm not playing games with this thing. And then it did not give you a opportunity to really capitalize on it. What I wanted was exactly what happened in early morning pre-market. I was hoping that this thing would fail. That's how I was trading this. I did get into this thing. I wanted this to fail, and I kept on getting greedy. I was trading the P&L instead of trading the setup because I wanted this thing to fail way the hell down. It's up from $1 or something, trading around $4.70. I was like, man, this is going to give a really good opportunity. And because I was trading the P&L, I got my ass kicked. And that's why you have to trade the process and not the P&L. The next trade I traded was AREN. This gapped up in after hours. Came up here, found a topping. I was just like, well, how do you trade this? Right in here. The problem was I held this into market open. It halted down, halted up, halted down, halted up, halted down, and I was just like, dude, this is some crazy shit. And I stopped in the money, and then it just tanked, and I didn't want to deal with it. It was being crazy, and I was also in this stock, and I was like, well, I feel like this is going to be giving a better potential. And so what I did was this was also trading SSR. It's a low price stock, but when this thing fell down to here, I started looking in here. It did not work out, and I covered break even. It came up here, started finding like a triple top. If you have more experience, you can trade something in here, especially after it's crazy volume. It's slamming back down, finds the double top right here, can't break over 175 or 178. The better way to trade this, though, is to go from the high down to the low, trade the lower high, and then ride it all the way down, which is what I did on this thing. But the moneymaker was this baby. And obviously the stock looks like shit, but the reason I traded this is because if you go to the daily, all-time high is $4.80. What I did do, though, so I went from $4.80 down to the low of 201, and I started looking in this area. It did not react the way that I wanted it to, and I believe that I got in. Actually, you know what? I don't know. I'll pop this sucker up though. PTLE. I got in right here. Not the best feel, but it didn't react the way that I wanted to. I got out. It popped up, slammed down under the all-time high. I took a short, cover, and that was it. Pretty simple, sweet trade, but like I said, the all-time high, I think it was at $4.80. Go back and look this one. Yeah, $4.80. It was 1 penny underneath. It slammed back down. I was like, all right, dude, like, the other thing to look at is the volume, right? This is a long ass video. I'm sorry, guys. But it's trading with like no volume at all. It's got higher volume right here. It slams back down, and I was just like, all right, well, I'm going to take a trade right here, risking over the high. Took a trade right there, covered half, and I believe the other half was down in here. It was a solid ass trade. But moral of the story is, I did make money this week, but like very little money because I was trading. I went way up in my size, and I started trading the P&L, and so. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce my size, and I think that what I want to do is I want to help my students out. And I got to a place to where I don't have credit card debt. I don't have any kind of debt. And so I was just like, well, you know what? I want to help my students out. And so, one of the things that they're having a problem with is learning how to build their account. And so what I want to do is I want to show you you can make money with smaller size. You can make decent money with 400 shares. You don't need crazy amounts of size. You don't need to be risking a lot. You just need to follow the process correctly. And so that's what I want to start doing. I want to show you guys how I would build up a smaller account. Well, not a small account, but like a $30,000 account. How would you build that correctly? How would you turn this into a business, and how would you structure your business and do it correctly? And so that's what I want to do. Hopefully, you guys found value in this, and I will be back next week with another weekly recap. Have a good one.